Hold on, I have notifications popping up the second I started this, so I'll have to learn more about that later. Okay, hey, how's it going, everybody that's showing up here? I need to find out how to pull up chat really quickly, unless it's just right there and I don't have to do anything. I am slightly new to using YouTube Live, so give me, if you're watching this in the future, there will be timestamps straight to the reading and straight to any other parts of this that you'll be able to go to, so bear with me as I figure out this early part here. But how's everybody doing so far today? Whoop, whoop. Oh, I just pinned a chat. So, how's everybody doing as I figure out how YouTube Live works today? Okay, cool. So, I feel like I was able to see more chat when I first started there. Oh, hey there. Hey, Capra. Good seeing you here too. Good seeing you here. So I'm just going to say hello to everybody first, and then we'll get going here. I don't anticipate this being, hey, lame chick, hope you're doing well too. Hey, CCS. Doing awesome. Glad to hear it. Glad to hear it. So I don't anticipate this being as busy up front as the TikTok lives usually were, and I might not be done totally going live on TikTok. We'll see where everything goes. Hey, Lindsay, good to see you. I am doing well, and I hope you're doing well too. I hope things are cruising along in your world optimally, of course. It's weird because going live on YouTube shouldn't be that much different than going live on TikTok, and in a lot of ways it's not, but for some reason it feels so different that I'm like, having a moment for some reason, but it's fine. I'm sure if I do more lives on YouTube, it will be totally fine in the future here. Awesome. So I think we will get started here, and I'm not too concerned about the numbers. One thing I am excited about is I won't have to like download this and repost it on YouTube because it's already on YouTube, so that's cool. So I'm just going to start the Channel Timeless collective reading, and if anyone else has anything to say in chat, I'll just say hello to you as we progress and as I am guided to. So let's see. So for Channel Timeless collective reading, for anyone who's showing up who is newer here, now or in the future, now live or in the future. So it's just meant to be for whoever sees it whenever you see it. And I'm just gonna be flowing with the channel messages coming through from my spirit guides, the angels, and source, working with my intuition on this, just to bring through whatever you need to hear, what would help you out, what would be for your highest good. Hey, abundance, love, joy. Good to see you. Hey, Stacy, great to see you. So, give me 1 second here. Okay, so I feel like what will it take for this to flow better? I feel like my flow is different, it seems, because we're not on TikTok. I'm like, for some reason, the screen being slightly different, it's like, So, Channel Timeless collective reading, we're gonna start right now. So let's see what would be the first thing to start coming through for you guys today, whenever you're seeing this. So I've gotten this message before on certain lives. It's funny because whenever I go to say past lives, it's like past lives, but I just mean like lives on social media. But in lives in the past that I've facilitated, there's a visual I've gotten, at least one, where there's like a rainbow and people are sliding down it, and the message is ease. In this intuitive and channeled visual, the thing I was getting was like this rainbow, but it's like you're sliding down it in this intuitive visual, but it like opens up and almost like becomes like a monster or like a black hole while you're kind of traversing it. And the message is like, hey, do not be afraid. Like there is more ease birthing still. There might be some challenges that are leaving or that you went through recently that maybe not, hopefully not all of you, but some of you are still reeling from or like recovering from, and that's not going to be your new norm. Like some of the challenges that you're recovering from or leaving, it's not going to be your new normal, and things are actually adjusting to bring you more ease. So I would hang in there regarding all of that. they're telling me to tell you, but in the Let's Go Higher membership, there are some things that came through regarding ease that will be uploaded there soon. So if you're a Let's Go Higher member, the full channel mode session has things to do with ease. So hopefully that will contribute to that as well. For the rest of you, however, let me see where else they're going with this intuitive visual here. So one message they have that they're adding is like sometimes magic works at the last second. And of course, I never want to take away from the possibility of things always being magical for you and always being as amazing as they can be moment to moment for each of you and everyone concerned. At the same time, sometimes there are like changes we're trying to make and we're kind of like, oh, I don't know if this is going to work out, or something kind of comes up that's like an obstacle, for example, and we're like, I don't know how I'm going to get around this. But the magic comes in at the last second to save the day or to change the situation. And sometimes you're like, I don't even know how the heck that happened, but I'm glad it worked out. And some of you are going through some things where things are just going to work out at the last second and you don't need to be afraid. And that's part of what this ease message is talking to, is things are actually going to work out even if you don't think they are, especially regarding like obstacles or things that are going on that have been heavier, is the way I'm getting to describe it. Anything else on this? So again, I would not be afraid at this time, regardless of how it works. Like there is magic on the way to save the day, which I didn't intend to rhyme, but I guess they did. So there we go on that one. Next thing they'd like to get to for you guys here, let's see. It's a bit more with the rainbow. So one thing that's a message for you guys is sometimes, this is about for half of you, you quit things before you really should. Like you'll start on a project and you'll like get a day's work done, and then the next day you don't have any motivation, and then like you think that's a sign you should give up, but it's really not. Like sure, take a break for a day, that's okay, and follow the energy and your intuition on like when to work on things and when to show up for things. But it doesn't mean to give up on things just because you're guided to stop for a day or it doesn't work out right away. It could just be like a timing. The phrasing I'm hearing is, I feel like I'm gonna have to explain it, but like a timing track you're on where it's like the universe wants this out at a certain time. So if you got it all done right away, it'd be like too early and it wouldn't like succeed like you would want, or wouldn't go quite the way you would hope. But if you're on like the timing track of like the right time to get this out there and to work on it and etc., like it all works out perfectly. So sometimes that's going on. It's not that you're working on the wrong things, it's like the timing of that thing. So check in with your intuition of like, oh, is now the time to work on it, or am I being guided to work on something else in the meantime, or just delay working on this for now and I can come back tomorrow better than ever, or the next week or month even, or whenever it is for you guys. For the other half of you regarding this message here, it's a weird message about you guys giving up on, and I say weird message, but it's just a habit. It might not be weird, but you guys giving up on like your life almost, or like the life you desire, because it doesn't show up like the next week or the next month, or your dream relationship doesn't come in the next day. And that's understandable because like we are sometimes sold an instant gratification kind of culture, which isn't wrong per se. But I hesitate to say this, but the words I'm hearing are there are really amazing things on the other side of you waiting or having patience. And to clarify, it doesn't mean like sit there and twiddle your thumbs. Sometimes it does, and sometimes that's the answer, and you have to trust your intuition on that. But it's like not throwing in the towel and going a completely different direction that you actually don't want to go just because the way you'd like to go isn't working out right away. Hopefully that makes a bit more sense as a way to phrase it for you guys. So there are some really amazing things on the other side of patience and perseverance, which doesn't have to mean difficulty or hard things. And there's something I almost want to say of like, well, what if you need like, it's about a job and you need money like really soon because you're running out of money or something like that. Like you might have to, what's the best way to say this? Have some leeway with the universe on what it's giving you if it's not your dream job tomorrow. And it could be your dream job tomorrow, is the other part of that. But you might have to take what's being handed to you now and use that as a, I don't want to say crutch, but part of the path to get to where you'd like to go overall. And who knows, maybe this will be something that turns out to get you there in a more magical way than you expected. You just have to receive and be willing to receive if the universe is handing your way to help you out, because I know sometimes when it comes to like what we're trying to create in our life, it's a bit of a, it's like we actually do need some things now or sooner rather than later. So keep that in mind. And of course, take it as it resonates with all that, because you're all in different places in certain ways with a lot of this is something I'm getting. So next thing they're showing me here, orange or like a tangerine is something they're showing me, but they're showing it like, it's almost like a presentation, like a 5-star restaurant. Like it kind of gets peeled and then it kind of blossoms into this like flower, but it's like the peel is cut in a certain way to open and fold out. And like the, when someone slices an orange, like they're kind of pulled out to look almost like a flower. They're showing me hibiscus for some reason. They're saying hibiscus as well, if that's a sign for you or means something else. But let me get back to the orange here. So good messages. There are a lot of things that will be bringing joy that are on the way. And the weird phrase I'm hearing is a lot of emotional blossoming coming in. So what does that mean for you guys with emotional blossoming? So one message I am hearing for you guys is like, hey, like you guys have had it hard in some way, some of you recently, but also in the past, or there's like something you've gone through that's been difficult or emotionally difficult. One message as well is like, there's a lot of don't give up messages, it seems, but don't give up on joy and the possibilities for that. And if I know many of you have had joy before, I would hope. But some of you might feel like you've never had joy before, or not as much as you would hope for in a lifetime. And they're like, don't give up on that. Like you are on the right road to birthing that and making the right, well, what's the best way to say this? You are making maneuvers that are going to get you there, and the universe is going to help bring it your way. So don't give up on having the emotions you'd like to have in your life or the ways you'd like your life to feel. It's just, for some reason, it's just what they're saying. So I'll roll with that. Anything else on this? Some of you have like given up on feeling good in life, which is, maybe that's just like 2 of you. And maybe for some of you it is a rough season, but it doesn't mean things won't get better or emotionally feel better in the future, and there is a possibility to turn things around if that's you. So don't give up right now. It's just something they're trying to say with this message here. Okay, so we're moving on here. We're back to a rainbow, but it's like a different vantage point. We're kind of like almost up in heaven, like we're on clouds. There's a rainbow up in the sky. There's this like golden gate here. So let me see what the message is for you guys. The question I'm hearing for you is like, hey, what will it take for you to have heaven on earth for you? And it doesn't have to look like anyone else's. And I guess that's a question for you to pose to the universe and maybe pose to your highest self and your spirit team. Like, hey, universe, what will it take for me to have heaven on earth for me? Because it's like the message is like with everything else coming through is like, it is possible to have that. And the more you have that, the more it becomes possible for everyone else as well. And for some of you, it's actually your mission to birth that for you. And you don't have to make it happen for anyone else. You don't have to force it upon anyone or make it your mission to give your mom heaven on earth. For example, it's like, it's for you and it's actually something you came here to do. So with that on your radar, is there anything that comes to you intuitively or comes to mind on like what would help that birth? And if not, have it go out as a question to the universe on like what it will take and see what the universe shows you. And maybe ask it every day. And like, you're like, okay, what will it take for me to have heaven on earth for me in the best ways possible or something like that? Thanks, universe. And just like ask that every day and just kind of see what starts to show up as far as resources or paths or ideas or intuitions or channel messages to help get you there and move the energy in that direction. Because again, that's going to help everybody, even if it doesn't seem like it. Sometimes it's tempting and we think we need to suffer for everybody else. We think we have to go through suffering because our mom's going through suffering, for example, or we have to have a bad time because someone in Asia is having a bad time. And oh, we can't be rich because there's poor people. And I understand the temptation around that and how we're programmed into that in many ways, even by things like, and not to judge religion, but by religion or maybe even certain governmental forces, depending on what country you live in and things like that. However, that's not actually the way to like save anyone. And trying to save people can sometimes be a trap that keeps us from living our own best reality or, non-reality. That's a whole explanation I have to go into that I've heard about, but it's actually kind of cool. Our own best possibilities for us, I guess, is another way to say it. Our own best life for us. So don't get distracted by trying to save everyone else. Like, that's not your role. And yes, some of us are, maybe we're all healers in a way, but some of us are called to be healers and have that be our like outward job, so to speak. But that doesn't always equal like saving people and I'm going to ask them to explain it. I think a lot of you get it, or about half of you get it is what I get. So let me see how they'd like to explain it. Saving people is kind of this idea sometimes as one way to explain it. Like, oh, for example, someone who's trying to save everyone might be going like, oh, they think they're better than everyone and everyone else has to be saved. And it's their role to save everyone and suffer for everyone. And it's almost like a messiah kind of thing, complex thing a little bit. But let me see where they're trying to go with this though. Like, what would be better than that for you guys? What would be the best possible option for you guys? You might potentially look at like, okay, what would help you the most? And then it doesn't mean you just ignore others and don't help them out as you feel called to or anything like that. But from there, like, how can you uplift others, empower others, or do what you're divinely guided to do for others, to contribute to others from that place, or divinely guided to be for others from that place, instead of assuming they need saving, is one way to look at it. Because some people are actually choosing their lots, even if it's not what you would choose for them and you would hope for better for them. And what's the best way to say this? What would be the best thing to be brought through here? It's just not your job to save them from that, So in some ways, it's kind of a reminder like, hey, what do you need? Like, where do you need to focus on yourself so you can be there for people in a greater way in the future? And you will be. None of this is saying to be selfish to the degree you don't care about the world or other people or what people are going through. It's actually probably less selfish to care about yourself and help yourself to the degree that you can contribute to others or help others however you're guided to, instead of, again, like assuming certain people need saving in a certain way. So I hope like this made sense to you guys so far with what's coming through and how it's coming through, or that if it doesn't, it clicks in the future. But they're moving on here. So there's kind of this, in this next visual, there's like this angel with like a staff, but then there's also this like Native American individual. He's like on this cliffside, like kind of staring off into the future, and he's receiving visions here. So let's see what's up with this. And there is like shaman imagery with this, which is interesting, but let me see. It's been coming through for some people recently. What's up with this? So the way it started out was there was this interesting message of like, hey, like there are many possible futures. I guess some of you think that things have to always look the way they always have, or that the future is set. And like it can be sometimes, but usually there's actually a lot of leeway if you're willing to make different choices and ask for different possibilities. So try not to get dead set on the future having to look a certain way right now, or that it's like destined to only look one way. Because it is a bit of both of like, yeah, there's destiny and there's also like choice and what would you like to have. And sometimes it's a bit of a dance between destiny and your choice. And there's like a lot. What would be the best way to get this through for you guys? There can definitely be things where it's like, yeah, we're supposed to do this thing, and our soul keeps circling us back to it. And it's definitely a good idea to pay attention to that. Um, and then there are other areas where it's like, hey, like, what would you like to have? And like they're showing that as like God asking that question, like, hey, what would you like to have? So you can create or co-create a lot of the future in addition to your destiny. So don't feel like you're stuck just being a certain way or having to walk a certain path. Like there are actually many paths that could fit a destiny or your destiny, usually. And hey, we can all be different with this too. Some people are like 70% destiny, 30% choice is what I'm hearing, or maybe it's a bit more complicated than that, but that was like a way I was getting to describe it. Um, Other people, they might be here just to create, and they're like 1% destiny. I don't feel like I'm describing this perfectly, but it's like the way I'm hearing it right now. So let me see if there's a better way to get to it for you guys. Like you kind of get the crux is what I'm getting, which just like don't pigeonhole yourself to thinking things have to be a certain way is one of the messages they like to get through for you right here. Next thing they show me is a banana, and it's about peeling layers here because the banana is being peeled. So for some of you, and I'm going to have to explain some of this, like source is like getting to the core of you with how you are changing. So some of you came here, funny we just talked about destiny and stuff, but some of you came here to be an agent of a lot of change this lifetime for yourself and others. And source is doing that now or causing a lot of that now. So some of you might feel very raw or emotional, or you might just feel like you're releasing a lot. It's because your core is shifting so you can be the change for you, but also for others in a way, because it's almost going to create like shockwaves that create change in others, or your example is going to create change in others through your change, or who you become through your change, what you do following during the change, etc. So about 70% of you tuning into this right now, like your core, or who will tune in after the live, your core is shifting, like the core of you is shifting and you're becoming greater, which is really cool. For the other like 30%, you will get there, like you're starting that journey, but like that core shift is where it's like a core identity shift is something I'm getting, but it's also like you as a being shifting. It's actually gonna be really awesome. So it's actually a really beautiful mess up and have uncomfortable realizations and see truths maybe we didn't want to see. And it doesn't have to be difficult or bad. It's just that might be part of the journey. So I'd be willing to receive that and have that be there and trust it's all to make things better, and that's part of the plan, I guess you could say here. So let me see where they'd like to go next for you. So next thing showing up is grasshopper. Is a message about a second chance. And there's another message about a leap of faith here. It's kind of multiple messages with this one here. So some of you are getting a second chance with something. I would definitely take it based on what I'm getting. So for example, what's an example here? Maybe you were trying to grow big on social media and like something like fell through, or like your account got banned or something. The word I hear is horrific. So I hesitate to put horrific on it, but that's the word I heard. And you might have another chance to like grow another account and be like successful with business or whatever you're trying to do. So I would take that opportunity being granted. Or for some of you, it might be like moving somewhere, or it could be like love. And like with love, it could be like a same person from the past. It could be someone new, as opposed to just being someone from the past that you divorced or broke up with or whatever, or they broke up with you. And take the opportunity the way it feels light to you, or as your intuition guides you to. Like you don't have to force yourself to call your ex after this because of this message. It's more like be a little bit open-minded regarding the second chance. Yeah. And see how it's showing up. But if you notice a second chance, like please take it, is the message I'm getting for you here. So anything else here? It's interesting because this has been a bit shorter as far as a channeled timeless collective reading as I usually facilitate them for these lives the way I have been, but they're kind of saying like, hey, we might wrap it up soon. We'll probably do a full channel mode or something after that. So let me see what they'd like to get to next before we wrap it up here. They're showing me this like cup or this chalice, but there's ice cream in it. So let's see what this is about. It's really fancy the way this chalice is showing up here today. So let me see. It's like a... So they're kind of showing this ice cream melting, but it's kind of in this intuitive visual about running out of time is what I'm getting. And some of you think you're running out of time for certain things. You really aren't. And sometimes rushing is something that would cause us to take more time on something than we'd really like to, more so than like if we take things at the right pace for us, because maybe there's a pace you can take with certain things where like you're getting a lot done and maybe you're taking a lot of action, but there's a lot of ease to it. And maybe there's another form of rushing where like you're trying to force things. You think you have to have it all now or have it all done now, and you're trying to do it all at once and everything's falling apart, and like you're kind of making the wrong moves because you're assuming, oh, I got to do it now. And you're not like listening to source or your intuition or spirit team on it, or your knowing on it. You're like trying to force things to happen now. So I would stay away from rushing and like lean more towards like, okay, what feels right now? Like, where is the energy leading? Where am I being guided to put effort, and how so and how much? Because it's tempting to have ideas and like assume it has to look a certain way, even like to have success, for example, or to get a lot done. But like, is that true? And the other question is like, what is source really trying to accomplish through you right now with certain projects or with certain things you're doing? And it's like, are you on track with that, or are you trying to force your own agenda? And there's nothing wrong with moving towards things you'd like and things like that, but there's a way to co-create it and work with your intuition on it instead of thinking we have to force our way in the world, if that makes sense. So how can you approach things with ease and the right pace? And maybe you're still getting things done quickly, but it's not like trying so hard. It's like allowing it to flow and allowing yourself to be guided through it. And still, I'd be willing to take action or to work, whatever that looks like. Doesn't have to be, again, doesn't have to be difficult and awful and terrifying or terrible. But what are you being guided to do? Is the way I'd kind of look at that. Instead of what we're like societally programmed to do as far as like forcing certain things or doing more than we really should. So it's kind of about like reading the energy. I feel like I'm repeating myself a little bit going back and forth, but hopefully you understand what I'm talking about. Most of you do, so there's a better way to summarize it here. The summary I hear is like, try to listen to your intuition instead of forcing things, which sounds, obvious, but hopefully that's helpful to hear it nonetheless. So next thing they're showing me is this castle, but it's kind of dark and foreboding. There's like gargoyles, there's like lightning strikes behind it. And it's almost like a vampire castle is the way it kind of looks a little bit. But actually, now that this intuitive visual is progressing and the channel visual is progressing, there's like half of it is like white and butterflies and rainbows and unicorns. The other half is like a vampire castle. It's kind of evolving here. So what's this about? So what they're showing me for you is like you are transitioning out of the vampire castle portion of life even to something that's a bit more butterflies and rainbows is the way they're showing it to me. So try not to judge that if things get lighter or easier, because sometimes when that happens, we think it's wrong. If we're used to a lot of really difficult things, and, there's nothing wrong with either, I guess, if we're not going to judge it. But what else is going on here? So I feel like some of you, or maybe a lot of you, are used to there being, in some regards, like, they're showing it as like a vampire around every turn, or like something ready to jump out and get you around every turn, kind of like you're used to, like, it's almost like showing me Scooby-Doo for some reason, like they're just used to encountering villains all the time and like finding themselves in trouble and like exploring these gothic castles, and like the axe swings down to try and like get them and stuff like that. And Source is like, I guess, transition you into a safer world is the way I'm hearing it, which is really interesting. And you're going to have to get used to things like not and it's metaphorical, of course, it's symbolic, jumping out to get you, or like jump scaring you, or like challenge after challenge after challenge. And it's might be like difficult to like receive that or accept that or like allow that in a way. Maybe that's not the best way to say it, but because of what you're used to. So source is probably going to ease you into it, but I'd be willing to like receive that and not think it's a trick and like ask for more of it once it shows up. That's a trick, by the way. I could, what's the best thing to say here? When you see something you like happening in life, just like ask for more of it. I'll tell you the whole thing. I think I might have said it in a different live or somewhere else, but when something happens that you would really like to have more of, you'd be like, okay, awesome. What would it take for me to have more of that, universe? And then also ask, like, how does it get any better than that? And I'm borrowing from Access Consciousness a bit here. When there's something you don't desire as much of, you can ask, like, okay, what will it take to change that? And also ask, how does it get any better than that? So just to explain for anyone who isn't familiar with like Access Consciousness, which is a modality, by the way, and I'm not like a certified facilitator or practitioner of it, but I just learned a lot about their tools and working with them, and I just bring it in with everything else I do with like channeling and energy healing and things like that. And so asking a question is like a way to, I'm going to simplify it a bit as the way I talk about it. It's going to be a bit different than they do. Like a way to manifest things or actualize things. When I ask like, okay, what will it take for me to have more of that? You're like asking the universe to answer by manifesting what it will take to have more of that, or are you just having more of that thing? It can just happen really easily and directly. Or you might get like the resources to have it, or the ideas, or the, whatever it takes, that the universe is like, this is what it will take. Here you go. And the universe is usually going to give you the best way, as long as you're willing to receive that. And then how does it get any better than that? When you ask that, it just gets better, whatever you're asking about. So it could be a bad thing, quote unquote, that happens, or a good thing, quote unquote, that happens. It just like gets better. So like, how does it get any better than that? And then like gets better. How does it get any better than that? It gets better. And I have some really cool stories with that. And a lot of people who do work with that question do. So then like, again, just to kind of talk about it, anything you like happens. What will it take for me to have more of that? How does it get any better than that? Anything you would like to change happens, or you don't like so much. What will it take to change that? How does it get any better than that? And you'll notice this momentum shift where you're going to start getting more and more and more of the things you're like, what will it take for me to have more of that? And you'll have a lot of change regarding the things you don't like, is the way I'm getting to kind of say that last bit. And, experiment with it, play around with it. If you're guided to change the wording, you can do that too. But I hope that is a helpful tool or idea for you to just, my ex texted me as the live started. Oh my God, there you go. There's some magic for you. Not saying that they're the one or anything like that, but as far as synchronicities with the messages and all that, that's funny. So let me see where else I'd like to go with this while we're still here. There's like one more thing, but they're actually kind of done, I guess. There might be more. Sometimes I'm like, yeah, we're done. And there's like an avalanche of like 20 more channels and intuitive messages that come through. But as far as like the one more they were talking about here. So one thing I'm getting for you guys, they're showing this like path, and there's angels lining the sides of it. So one, you're divinely protected is one of the messages. You're divinely watched over. Two, one thing I'm getting for you guys is you're going to find that things are less up to chance and like random. And things are going to be more about like what you ask for and manifest. And like we talked about earlier, like what your destiny line is. So there's just going to be less like, here's a weird word, tomfoolery from the universe is the way I'm getting it. Not that the universe tomfooleries us, or because for me, with how I work with the universe, I don't notice any tomfoolery for me. So it's a weird sentence to bring through, but the way to explain that for you guys is sometimes it seems like maybe like earlier in our lives before we really got on our paths, you could say, with like whatever it is, spirituality or channeling, consciousness, energy healing, whatever your thing is, whatever you call it, it can seem like our lives are a little bit more random. They're usually not anyways, is what I get, but you're going to have less and less and less and less randomness and more and more and more and more magic, lights, even things like you hoped for, which is great, but also like what you asked for, what you're manifesting, what you're putting out there sometimes. That doesn't mean like be afraid of that. You might want to pay attention. I don't think it's going to be a huge deal, but just pay attention to what you're consciously putting out there and what you're receiving. And the more you do that and hone that in with the universe, the more you're going to start to get exactly what you asked for and like, or better. So I would really be practicing like putting out your ask to the universe, seeing what you get back. And also just like working with it sounds obvious, but working with the angels in your spirit team and like talking to them more and like praying for more magic or praying to them more if that's how you operate, whatever works for you. The more you're doing this kind of stuff, the better your life's gonna get, is what I'm getting. And sometimes we ask for certain things and like a lot changes, and that's not, doesn't have to be bad or difficult, because what will it take for it to happen with ease? Another potential cheat code for you guys is anytime you ask for something, ask that it shows up with ease, or ask like, hey, what will it take for me to have this with ease and grace? Or what will it take for me to get to this place with ease and grace? And watch the magic happen. And of course, like, again, follow your intuition, like what do you got to do to get there? But it's another thing that I think I've talked about before, but I'll just say it again in case it's helpful for anyone else who's tuning in right now. Went to a B-Day party at a place called Tomfoolery yesterday. There we go. So I need to just trust the synchronicity in what they're doing with the messages, because I love that synchronicity. Starstruck Dahlia. Good to see you, by the way. I think you have a different name on TikTok, but and good to see you too, Sarah. I see there. Okay, so they're saying they'd like to do the full channel mode message. Last thing with the channeled intuitive collective reading, though, they're showing like the castle, but it's like a fairy tale castle. They're also showing me like the Princess Peach castle from Super Mario 64. If anyone's familiar with that game, and I know some of you are, and some of you might look at me like I have 3 heads. And you're like, my grandson might know about that, and that's cool too. But let's see what's up with this here. So one of the cool messages I'm getting with this is like the old stories are collapsing. So if you think of like, even like Super Mario, there's usually like this whole like journey, and there's all this like challenge, and there's all this strife, and there's all this like the big bads you have to defeat, and all this like quote unquote evil and things like that. A lot of that's shifting if you'll have a different reality, and you might still, if you play video games, play some of those video games that have those constructs baked in, or watch shows or movies with those ideas as part of the plot line and things like that. But it doesn't have to be your reality or the way your life shows up. And Source really would like to shift you to a different reality where you're not emulating some of those stories, as entertaining as they might be. Like, it's, again, like we had this message at the beginning, like it's time more for like ease and actualizing that. It's time more for like a reality you would like to create for yourself, instead of what's shoved in your face by like TV or Netflix or video games or whatever. And there's nothing wrong with those things. There's nothing wrong if you partake in those things. I know partake usually has a different connotation, right? But you know what I mean. Like, that's fine. But it's like, what would you actually like to have? Like, would you rather have like the fairy tale castle with ease and grace, or would you like to have to storm the vampire castle and fight everything and have a tough time getting to your destination you'd like to have, so to speak, or your experience you'd like to have? Because I know it can also be about the journey and enjoying that along with the destination instead of just about the destination. But you understand, I think, what I'm getting to. It's kind of like what's actually possible instead of what's been shoved in our faces by entertainment. And we don't have to judge those things as wrong. It's just, okay, interesting that they put that in that story or that video game or that TV show. That's interesting, but it's not how my life's going to be, even if I enjoyed the way the story went, as far as being a third party spectator of it, or whatever you want to call it, Okay, so you guys get it. So they'd like to do a full channel mode session about magic is the next thing. So definitely familiar. So familiar. Yeah, Super Mario 64. That's my song about Super Mario 64. I just wrote it right now. But anyways, definitely familiar. Awesome. So okay, so I'm getting a full channel mode session. I'm getting this about magic and like unlocking magic for you guys, maybe for me too. We'll see what they do here. Thank you for sharing your insights. It's been a journey lately. You're welcome, Emma. You're welcome. So most of you are familiar with the full channel mode stuff I do, and you'll know what's going on when I do it, but I'm just channeling my spirit guides, the angels and source directly. The name my spirit guides go by is the Angelic Collective of Zorbital, and that's a whole story. They're like, well, we don't really have names up here, and then they gave me one anyways. So if you need a name, there's the name. And let's see. I guess I'll talk about some of the benefits of channeling for anyone who is showing up who's newer to the full channel mode stuff. But one, there's like oh my God, energetic transmission that does something kind of like energy healing for the highest good. So it can create shifts and changes for you in your life. It can facilitate upgrades, whatever is for your highest good really is my intention, but also just what it does. And then there's also like this part of it where you get the verbal messages they'd like to say. Then there's also what am I forgetting? Oh yeah, it also opens up your third eye and intuition or your channeling as well. So you might, and probably will find that you might find that happening during or after the channel where that opens up for you more. And some people it's like right away and like huge, and other people it's over time as they listen to different channels. So whatever is right for you will happen, I'm sure, and whatever is right for your destiny path and along with what you're manifesting and creating and all that, or that or better, whatever is happening. Whatever you believe, I guess, are the words I'm hearing. So let's start the full channel. Super Mario 64 was the best one. That one was really fun. I've been thinking about it lately for some reason. Because I was a lot younger when it came out, but I remember having a lot of fun with it as a kid. I also enjoyed segue before the full channel mode session. I also enjoyed Super Mario Sunshine personally, and I didn't really play too many Mario games after that one, really, for whatever reason. But yeah, Super Mario 64 was great. Okay, so that was fun. So we're starting right now. So let's see what would be fast going to come through for you regarding magic here. Give me 1 second to get in the zone. And okay. Give us 1 moment to adjust the frequency to optimal for this crowd and each one of you respectively, for we are taking a bit of a different approach with this channel energetically. Some of you will feel this more strongly than others, but we are gearing this to be just right for each of you to receive the right amount. So you are not overwhelmed by the energetics or frequency of the channel. So let us begin. Magic. Magic is one of the frequencies that is unlocking more on the planet, and each of you has a role to play regarding your personal magic, but also magic overall for the collective. The more you unlock it for you, the more you go that direction, the more you unlock your being. What do we mean by that? Your soul, your connection to source, the true you. For the true you is magic. If things work out for you magically, you are being the true you, and that is a part of your being shining. That does not mean that if things are difficult or you are going through a challenge that you have lost sight of you, or that you are not magic, or that you are not you per se. For sometimes you go through those experiences to learn your magic, and to be ushered to the place where you operate from it more. So for example, let's take an example of a mother. who goes through a very difficult time with their husband, with their extended family, goes through a divorce, but they might realize they created their life based on everyone else's projections. When they had their intuition or feeling of what to do, they might listen to a friend or a family member to please them or for any other reason on what they did rather than what their best choice was as far as what their intuition told them. And they might not have been totally familiar with intuition yet. They knew they had an inkling, they knew they had a feeling. Maybe they hadn't totally unveiled it yet that, oh, this is my intuition and I should follow this no matter what. But going through those experiences, those challenges, that divorce, that doing what everyone else wanted, catapulted them eventually to listening to their intuition and following their magic to create their best life according to them, not according to society's expectations, people's expectations, or people living according to a lower reality, projections, judgments, or society's spell, you could say. By society's spell, we are talking about all of the judgments you are forced to live by, all the projections you are forced to buy as true or that are shoved down your throat from an early age. And forced is a harsh word. We say forced because energetically is there in your world very strongly from an early age. Of course, you can unbuy these things, you can undo the shackles, you can create your own reality beyond this. Otherwise, we would not be having this conversation. We would not be giving a conversation to empower you or get you to own your magic. We would just be telling you how you are effed. For that would be the truth of it. But that is not the truth. That is why we come bearing a different message. And that is why none of our messages are that of you being effed, so to speak. And we moderate our words for the platform. We have no qualms with your human judgments on words, and we also don't ascribe to them. But if the platform is going to show our message to more people, if we don't swear, then we will do that. We are very practical beings. Many of you assume we are airy-fairy and floating around and doing whatever we want. We actually have a very pragmatic side and an effective side. So we do have a rhyme and reason to what we do, just so you know. And same with your spirit team, same with... And we say that for those of you who think we don't care about you or things or the state of the world. It is not that we don't care. We do care in a sense, but we see a higher perspective. And we see a higher possibility. And we know what's possible. And we bring that to you. Through these channels, yes, but also through other methods. So do not judge your spirit team if they do not give you what you want right away, if they do not act in the way that you think they should. They have a rhyme and reason for what they do. We promise you that. And magic can be pragmatic. We realize we jumped around a bit with our topics. Bear with us. We are just hitting the energies you need to open you further to magic. And even to your spirit team. Some of you came here just to talk to your spirit team. You think you're getting a reading. You thought you were getting a channel. Yes, but through that, you get the frequencies you need to communicate and speak with your spirit team better and hear from them better over time. You actually came here for you. and your gifts you can bring to the world. And that is what we are giving many of you who desire that through these channels and the frequencies here, and even the channeled readings. There's more to just the words. So even if you don't think you get anything from these words, which you will if you pay attention, there is gold in the layers of these messages. We do not say that to toot our own horns. We say that so you might re-listen if it's right for you and gain that gold. And so that you don't assume right off the bat that you understand our message. Many of you do right away. But sometimes we weave in hidden layers in the messages that are only going to unveil themselves at the right time you listen. So a second or third listen. And we do this with many of our works. So let's get back to your magic. Let's get back to the topic on hand here. A lot of your magic is found in your knowing and in your heart. As an incarnate being with the body you have. So if you would like to unlock more magic, we would urge you to work on your knowing, your intuition, your channeling, whatever that shows up as for you. Mediumship, psychic abilities, there's no wrong way. Go with the way you are designed for starters and the way it is showing up, for that is the right starting place for you, starting where you are. Of course. And some of you might judge yourselves compared to others and their gifts or the way things show up for them. Don't do that. You are magical just as you are. It's just unveiling that. And yes, sometimes there's healing that needs to transpire, or healing from past lives. If you were perhaps murdered for your magic in a past life, for your healing abilities. There might be things to uncover, layers to go through. But be willing to go on that journey. For as you unlock your knowing and intuition more, you'll know what to do for more magic. You'll know who you are and who you're meant to be, or you'll be much more likely to get that message with greater ease if you're willing to go that direction. So one of our first steps to you, besides just asking for more magic, would be honing your intuition. Surprise, surprise, we give you that advice a lot, but it's one of your superpowers, and it's one you're trained out of, many of you, or were, since childhood. Because there are many forces that would not like you to have that. And we don't say that in a Christian spiritual warfare sense. We don't say that in a dark forces reigning over the earth sense. A lot of that is actually a more childish perspective, and it is not very nuanced. We are saying this in a sense more that there are powers that be that would rather you go along with what they said, not with what your intuition told you, because it benefits them to do that. Now, this is not very much of the planet that does this on purpose. It was a part of you shifting the planet out of that control and out of that paradigm is, again, you awakening your magic. Hence this conversation, or one reason for it, part of the reason. So are you willing to have your knowing that will lead you to more magic? The second thing we'll talk about with this, your heart. Your heart is actually a very powerful vessel. And in some ways, it is your connection to source, not your only one, but there is actually a direct connection to source from the heart. In some ways, it's the center of your soul. In some ways, it represents far more than you realize. Many people talk about the heart being a center of your knowing and intuition, and they are correct. There are many. You also have your guts, you have your third eye, you have your crown chakra, you have your soul directly. You have so many aspects of you that have knowing and interconnection with all things and direct connection to source, if you'll allow it. Again, you might have some societal programming or conditioning to undo, but it's there, underneath all that crap. So healing your heart center and working with it more and including it in your intuition. And many of you do this automatically. You don't even have to think about it. But for others of you who are working on your intuition and you feel lost or stuck, try to include your heart. Try to heal your heart. Try to see a connection between your third eye, your intuition, and your heart, and see it firmly connected. Or ask Source to connect your heart and intuition if you are not a visualization kind of person. This will actually resolve a lot because the heart is going to be the balancer of your intuition. There's nothing wrong with knowing without the heart, and it's possible. But if you bring your heart into the picture, you are going to know the whole story. And you're going to do it in a highly harmonic way that's very connected to all things. Especially as opposed to just one way of viewing things, as the mind can sometimes do. At least the linear mind you're trained into. For as you get into discussions about the higher mind versus lower minds, you begin to realize the mind is not what you thought it was, or were trained into believing it was. For the mind is part of the body. Many of you hear about these expos, mind, body, spirit. Nothing wrong with this. But your mind is so much more than just a brain. And what you consider the mind is a bit more limited than what it actually is. For if you include intuition and channeling, your mind is expanded beyond its capacity and is normal scientific evaluation, shall we say. You are not your mind. You are actually all of you. And that is part of the magic. We'll say that one more time. You are not your mind or your brain. You are actually all of you. You are actually more than your body, of course. Many of you know this. But it helps you get out of that you are a brain, you are a body mentality. For that's a very limited viewpoint of what you actually are and all you can be. There's a lot of magic with your bodies and your mind even. But if you include all of you, you have all of your magic. So try to ask the universe to show you all that you are. If you do not get this, this does not make sense. Just ask the universe to show you, and you'll get the knowing, one way or another. But how can you include your heart and your intuition, like we were talking about earlier? Ask your heart things. See what it tells you. If you channel, this will be like second nature for most of you who do that. But you can ask, heart, how do you feel about this? Heart, how do you feel about this direction? Heart, how do you feel about this in my life? And it will give you an answer. If you include your heart in the conversation, you'll be surprised how much more quickly your knowing comes online through that endeavor. For most of you. For others of you, you're already way past this, and you don't need to think about it. And kudos to you. You are an ambassador of magic and living magically on the planet. And that's powerful enough to change everything. That's powerful enough to change everything. And your miraculous capacities are also found in your magic. So what are you here to do that involves your magic is our next question. Many of you are here for so much more than your current lives. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with your current life. Nothing wrong with your current life. At the same time, what are you here to be that you haven't been yet this lifetime? And see if you get something intuitively. If you're on that level already, and you might want to write it down because it might be a key to your next step, or it might make sense in a year if it doesn't make sense yet. Or it might just open up more things for you for the highest good. But you have more magic on the way, all of you. And your role with magic is opening. So we have done what we have needed to do today. The energies feel a lot different, which is great. But you're going to notice more magic in your world after this. Perhaps during this. For some of you, or even many. And please remember that you are beyond this reality. You are beyond this world. You are beyond what you have been told you are. And you have the capacity to create anything with ease with the universe. You may not believe us right away, but as that reality opens up for you, and as you live in that frequency more, that's when you know your magic is online. Or a big key indicator. So what will it take for you to get there? We're wishing you well. We are signing out for now. The Angelic Collective Absorbital and Source. And P.S. Go easy on you. So many of you think if life isn't magical right now, you are wrong. You are not wrong. You are right where you're meant to be. But invite the magic in nonetheless. You do not have to create your life from a sense of wrongness, but you can just begin to create. We will let you go with that. Signing out for now. See you later. Farewell. Mario Party is your thing. Nice. Ooh, I love that. Abundance, love, joy. You're listening, walking on a treadmill to jiggle. Your energy is powerful. So glad to hear it. How's it get any better? So I hope that was helpful and at least energetically impactful for you for the highest good. You're welcome, Sunshine Lene. If I said that right. You're welcome, Carly. Woo, powerful. Awesome. How's it get even better than that? What will it take for more of that to show up, and how does it get any better than that? Thank you, Deborah. Oof. All right, so I mean, they're saying that we're done, and that's pretty much all they wanted to do today, at least through me for this. I mean, there might be some more if we chat, a bit before we close this out, but I hope this has been good for you. What's the best thing to say here? I'm experimenting with this on YouTube, and we'll see where I end up doing lives in the future. But I wanted to at least see what it was like. And I was getting to do this too on YouTube for some reason. So we'll see what happens in the future. And I'll be in touch about what platform I'll be going live on and just kind of the future of these lives, because I know you guys are familiar, but if anyone's new here, I've been going live usually about every single week. There have been weeks where I've taken, weeks off and stuff like that, but for almost like 3 years now, or more than 3 years now. So we'll see what the future of the lives looks like and where they'll be and all that, or where I'm guided to go. But for now, I was guided to do this today, so I hope this was awesome for you. That resonated a lot. Perfect, Stacy. So glad to hear it. You're welcome. You're welcome, Lenice. You're welcome, Stacy. Awesome. You're so welcome, Sarah. So the nice thing about this is that I don't have to download it from TikTok to repost it on YouTube. It'll just be here. So last thing I'll say is, if you're interested on going further in my work, you can always just go to my website, which I think is linked through my profile here, but I've got one-on-one channeled intuitive readings I'm facilitating right now. We have a potent energy healing class, the 4 angelic fires, coming up at the end of the month. And I also have a free, there's a lot actually I could talk about, but if you go to the website, you'll see a lot of the offerings. And I have a free newsletter you can sign up for. And right now I'm doing channeled advice on the week ahead, channel messages in the month ahead. If that calls to you, is a free way to go further with my work. And there's more, like channeled MP3s, monthly membership with a lot more full channel mode stuff that you can go to if you feel called to. So I guess that's it for today. Nice. So will today's reading be on your channel here on YouTube? Yes, today's video should definitely be just like available for watching the second we're done here, or pretty soon after we're done here. It might take me a second to put timestamps for when the reading in full channel mode begin, but I'll do that sometime after this. Website is brandonhbloom.com, BRANDONHBLOOM.com. And you can find that. I think it's in my YouTube profile as well. There's like a website and you can go to the link there. So you're welcome. All right, guys. So cool. First time logging. It was cool. Awesome. That's awesome. Good to see you here for the first time, Deborah. All right, well, I'm getting that I'm done talking and it's time to close it out, but so appreciate all you who showed up live today for this. You're welcome, abundance, love, joy, and I so appreciate those of you who migrated from TikTok, the usual live grounds, to YouTube for today. And I will hopefully see you guys in the future here or elsewhere, okay? You guys take care.